Hi, my name is Maura Boswell. I'm a Ph.D. student at Old Dominion University, and I'm supported by the Virginia Sea Grant Graduate Research Fellowship. The research I'm looking at is wave dissipation over living shorelines, and I chose this research because when I was working as a consultant as a coastal engineer in the field, it was a little frustrating that there was no actual guidance and technical guidance for telling an engineer how to design a level of protection for a living shoreline. It's a preferred method. A lot of people prefer it. It's aesthetically pleasing. They want to keep the habitat, that land-water interface, but they still need to protect an upland because there's erosion going on. You're putting these in on erosive shorelines. So how do you do that when it's easy to put a revetment in and know that, hey, I can get this level of protection and I know my property is going to be protected, but I really want to keep the habitat that I have. I really want to have my morning coffee and see that blue heron out there and see the fish and the crabs. So it's important to actually study these projects, capture the data so that we can optimize the designs so that people can have a choice and say, oh, I can do a living shoreline built like this instead of the revetment, so I can still keep that land-water interface and protect my habitat, but also protect my upland. So right here you have the oyster castles. They're still fairly new, so you can see the actual shape of them. And what happens is you put them in an area where oysters naturally occur, and the spat, which is what like baby oysters are, will come onto the structure and they'll start to build up. The kind of really interesting thing about it is these structures actually do increase a little bit, so they're growing in size because as the oysters start to grow one on top of each other, they do get a little bigger, and they get, you can see this is fairly smooth. They get a little bit rougher because if you look, and you can see some of the little oysters, you see how it's more of a rough surface, so that kind of actually helps with interacting with water and kind of breaking things up and creating different hydrodynamic flow around it. That's the cool part about my research, is that I'm an engineer, but living shorelines are really multidisciplinary. So you have the engineering aspect, we're defining success as how well are we protecting the shoreline from erosion, whereas the ecologists are looking at how well is our marsh surviving, like marsh survivability, what are the, if you saw what Becky was doing earlier, counting how many marsh grasses, how many like bivalves we see, what kind of fish are we seeing, crabs. So they're looking at success from the health of the ecosystem, and I'm looking at success from how much you're protecting the shoreline. But you need both when you're looking at a living shoreline, because the whole point of a living shoreline is not just erosion protection if there's a structure upland, but erosion protection for your marsh so that your marsh is still surviving.